All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Space Weather. This is our YouTube exclusive video from the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. We've got exciting stuff going on, as is the case typically. So here's the last 4 hours of magnetohydrodynamic pressure. We'll also be talking about sunspots, coronal holes. There's a new sunspot. There's a new heliospheric current sheet coming. We'll be talking magnetism, coronal holes, coronal mass ejections, and more. So stay tuned as we watch the last 4 hours of magnetohydrodynamic pressure here, about 12 Earth diameters out on the Geospace Magnetosphere movie. That's the last 4 hours. We are experiencing a continued high-speed coronal hole wind stream. That was Earth's magnetic moment from space. Here's Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. This is modeled in nanotesla. Geospace delta B changes to Earth B field over the last 4 hours. This is great at showing the locations of likely aurora, power line, pipeline, and railroad track induction during times of geomagnetic unrest and geomagnetic storm. Things pretty calm at the moment. Let's not waste any time to blast through a bunch of more interesting data. So KP index only at 2, that's a geomagnetic calm condition. For you new viewers out there, the KP index is a measurement of global geomagnetism. It's the overall planetary magnetism, hence the term planetary K index. If you want to read more about it, click on details. You can see where the magnetometer locations are and so on. Let's move on to the real-time solar wind. So real-time solar wind here remains elevated, just under 500 kilometers per second at, coming down a little bit here, 478 kilometers a second solar wind density, now coming down to 5.68 protons per cubic centimeter. So slowing down a little bit here as we see a coronal hole high-speed stream waning a bit. Density also dropping down. Likelihood of coronal mass ejections quite high. Solar flares, likelihood of solar flares very, very high. And we may see some spikes in the proton flux as a result of that. At the moment, proton flux flatlined. Next, looking at the top view ecliptic plane field plot, and we see a South Pole current sheet, which will be here by the time we put up tomorrow's video. And it's all a result of the massive sunspot conflagration in the northeastern limb of the sun. We'll get to it. We can expect to see some higher readings here once again in the GOES magnetometers. So there are the GOES magnetometers over the past 3 days. That arcjet moment, that is the GOES 17, turning on its thrusters to maintain its near equatorial geosynchronous orbit. Here's a line of sight view. You're going to see that red South Pole current sheet making its way toward Earth. South Pole current sheet imminent by tomorrow. Next, we'll move into coronal holes. And those are indeed North Pole-oriented coronal hole, that one right there. And there's a new sunspot that's just risen, sunspot 2995. So spectacular amounts of activity here. And a lot of people were calling for zero. A lot of people were forecasting zero sunspots for like years at a time, and it's just not happening. So just abandon that theory because it's clearly not panning out. So here's our line of sight coronal hole plot, and you can see this rather sudden shift here in the sun's B field. That's those blue lines, and that is the solar polar field reversal process happening before your very eyes. And let's move on to sunspots. Again, we've got a new sunspot right here. It's sunspot 2995 will be its name. Likelihood of major flares continues, as we've got massive beta-gamma sunspots here, 2993 and 94. The rest of these are fairly minor. 2992 has been producing some significant flares as well, but it's in the process of setting now as we make the video. And let's take some close-up imagery of it. First, a full disk view. You'll see a new sunspot right there, rising behind sunspot 2994. That'll be 2995. So here's the southern hemisphere. There are some sunspots down there. This small alpha class looking sunspot here. This more significant beta class group over here. And let's look up close at these giant, you can see how huge those are with the Earth scale there. Much larger than planet Earth. at least 4 umbrae there, larger than the entire planet. So we've got some additional imagery here. Let's add some other spectra. That's just 1700 angstroms. Here's 1700 and 171 angstroms together in a composite. And we've slowed that down to 10 frames per second. 30 glorious seconds. That's the last full day of Sunspot 2993, 2994, and the new Sunspot 2995. Did you know that we're on BitChute as well? Did you know that our views have been dropping about 80% on BitChute despite no real change in the content? It makes no sense. I don't understand it. We're at like less than 500 views a day, which is still more than YouTube. We were up to about 2,000 average views a day there. Makes no sense, but we're still putting up the exclusive content to encourage people to diversify their video production. We've also got our own website. We created it in 2019 as a result of pathetic censorship on Facebook. Another location where you can find our content. You can also find links to the Smash-O merch there. And today's featured merch item is Do Not Pole Vault the Caldera. So check it out. Click on Smash-O merch. You can find links below the video to that. We're also on Twitch. We've been streaming live on the regs to Twitch. It's just such a great live streaming platform that we just love it here at the Smash News Network, Least Busted Name in News. Thanks to everybody who follows over there. And thanks most of all to the Smash team. We replaced Patreon with a superior site. You can still donate via Patreon, but you're not going to get the exclusive content that you'll get on smashamash.com/Smash team. Once again, thanks to the Smash team. Thanks to our new Smash team members. Congratulations on realizing our channel and content exist. Here's one more slow-mo of this incredible active region here. This is ionized iron and helium, 171 and 304 angstroms. Another 10 frames per second slow-mo video from the Solar Dynamics Observatory. Good stuff. Next, looking at flaring. We indeed saw quite a bit of flaring. 4 M-class flares since yesterday. There were some coronal mass ejections as well. We'll get to it. First, a full disk view in 94 angstroms, one of the better wavelengths to view flares. It takes 10 images per minute instead of only 2. And we're back to 30 frames per second on this. And let's move on to a star chart. If you're up before dawn, you may see this ongoing planetary pileup. Saturn, Mars, Venus, and Jupiter all rising ahead of the Sun. It's a great, spectacular pre-dawn time to be viewing planets. And let's do a solar system forecast. Here's the 1-week forecast for the solar system. We'll have a crescent waning moon. And we'll close out this video with some coronagraph imagery from the Stereo A coronagraph and the Soho Lasco C3. So this one's located at Lagrange point 1 for you new viewers. The Earth would be behind you from this perspective. And from Stereo A's perspective, Earth would be off to your right. Again, they're located at Lagrange 5 for the left image, Stereo A, and Lagrange 1 for the right image, Soho Lasco C3 coronagraph. So we did see, indeed, coronal mass ejection here. It looks like it's off to the west. It does not appear to be Earth-directed at the moment. And that's about all. Just some more spectacular space weather coming your way. And again, don't be surprised to see massive solar flares, coronal mass ejections, geomagnetic storms, relativistic particles, etc. And thanks for tuning in. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists. Take a moment to press like, subscribe, share, etc. Tell your friends and foes about us. May that solar wind be at your back as I sign off. From the Smash News Network, least busted name in news.